I remember when I was in elementary school, I was in the 5th grade. There's this girl, Natalie. Natalie, if you are watching this, please run my hit me up because I still got beef. All right. So Natalie would always do little things, right? She would always do these little microaggressions, right? The teacher sat us next to each other, and she would always bump elbows into me. She was a lefty, so I was like, all right, I'll give you that. But after a while, I was like, is she doing this shit on purpose? Like, it feels like this is on purpose, because I've met left-handed people. They don't do all this. And it just kind of escalated. After that, she started, stealing my hair ties. The scrunchies that were literally in my hair, she would take it out of my hair and keep it and giggle and be like, I'll give it back to you later, and never give it back to me. And I'd go home getting in trouble because I didn't have my hair ties. And it just kept escalating from there. After that, she would offer me gum, like those little cube gums, and she'd be like, wait, hold on. Turns around and lick them, turn back around and try to hand it to me, and it's wet. And when I would grab it, I'd be like, why the fuck is it wet? And she'd giggle like, I licked it. And it's like, bitch, well, how is that funny? How is that funny? And it just kept escalating from there. She started stealing my food. She started just doing little microaggressions under the grace of we're friends. That's every time she would do something like that, she'd be, oh no, we're friends, so it's okay. It's okay. We're friends. It's okay. We're friends. And I remember in elementary school, I would wear my hair slicked back, braided, and it had a million scrunchies in it, right? Until it was picture day. So on picture days, my mom would let me wear my hair down when my curls happen or whatever. And I remember Natalie one time, she was playing with scissors, she was like, and she was just playing with them. And I was sitting next to her, of course. And I remember I was doing my work or whatever, my head's down, and all I feel, or all I could hear the snooze snipping. She does, and I tense up, and I turn to her and I look, and I'm like, did you just cut my hair? And she starts giggling. She's like, no. She's gaslighting me. She's like, no. Why would I do that? We're friends. And then later on in the day, she literally is giggling. She's giggling nonstop. She's like, and she does this to me. She's like it's a gift. And I was like, is that my hair? And she's like, it's okay. We're friends. I was so distraught. It was such a big chunk too, y'all. I was so mad. I told the teacher. The teacher was baffled. The teacher loved me, so he was like, Natalie! In front of the whole class, and I was like, I didn't do it. She's my friend. Why would I do that? And I told him all the things she was doing up until that point. She got transferred to another class. Honey, baby, oh my God, that was horrible. Okay, so this one time, trigger warning, cults. We're going to be talking about cults. My grandfather tried to start a cult with my dad and my aunts and uncles. Okay, so once upon a time there was the opioid epidemic, you know what I mean? And people was getting addicted to pills by accident. So my grandfather had gotten hurt at work, and they prescribed him, some painkillers that were very strong, and he just kept taking them. So one day he cut his hand on a can, and instead of trying to bandage it up or go to the hospital for stitches or anything like that, he called all his kids. He's all like, hey, everybody come into the kitchen. And so my dad and all his siblings, my aunts and uncles, they all lined up, you know what I mean? And my grandfather went on this tangent. He was just talking about God and this, that, and the other. Oh Lord Jesus, what is happening? Oh no. And he was just going on this whole thing about God and this, that, and the other. And, they don't remember what he said verbatim. But at the end of the speech, he was like, I am God. On some Kanye. He was on his Kanye before Kanye was Kanye. And so with his bloody hand, he goes down the line of each of them and draws a cross on each of their foreheads. I don't know what happened after that, y'all. I will be honest. I don't even know how I can ask my aunts and uncles. Sometimes they bring up stuff that happened when my grandfather was trying to do getting a little crazy. But how do I approach that? I'd be like, hey uncle, you remember that time? You got blood on your forehead? How do I do that? I'm not doing that, y'all. So that's all I got.
I'm going to be telling you a true scary story about the children who lived in my woods called the Lost Boys. As a kid, I would always play in the woods behind my house. And as a kid, I loved playing in them because I had a whole bunch of friends who lived in the woods. And you might be thinking, kids don't live in the woods. And that's exactly right, because they were actual ghosts. But as a kid, I did not know that. I would go out every single day, and there was about 10 boys who would play with me. We would build tree forts, we would play hide and seek, chase, everything. I invited them over for dinner all the time, but they told me that they couldn't leave, that they were stuck in the woods. I didn't understand, but I just let them be. I would always bring my friends out there, and none of them could see them. Everyone just told me I was crazy. But that was until I went missing for 2 days because one of the boys told me to come with him. So I did. He took me really, really far back into the woods, and I was super lost. And things started to go really bad. Stay tuned for part 2. This is part 2 to the true scary story of the lost boys in the back of my woods. As I was saying in part 1, I would play with these boys all the time. One day, one of the boys took me very far back into the woods, and I pretty much went missing. I got super, super lost and couldn't find my way back home. The boy told me he wanted me all to himself, and he didn't want me to go back to my family. He also said he was in love with me, but I don't know how a ghost can be in love with you. He kept saying he was bringing me back home, but I just went farther and farther into the woods. I was super turned around. Almost 24 hours later, my parents and the police found me. When I was in my bedroom that night, I looked out my window to the back of the woods. All 10 boys were standing there staring at my window. I knew that they were very upset with me because they didn't have me to themselves. So, the next day, I went to the outskirts of the woods and just stood there and talked to them. It was very hard for me to stay away because I think I was in love with that ghost too. And that's never good. Stay tuned for part 3.
Y'all, okay, this is the one time that I ever really got caught doing a little freaky leak. Okay, so I remember in high school I had this boyfriend, and I would go over to his house a lot because his mother did not give a fuck about none of them kids. So she would leave a lot. So I'll be over at his house. And as teenagers do, or some, we was doing stuff okay? And I remember the way his room was set up, it was like parallel to the garage, right? Where the garage door was. So when you open the garage door, you can go right into his room if you don't have the door closed. Normally he would have the door closed, but this particular time he didn't. We just forgot to close the door. So normally we had like maybe 2 hours before his mom came home. So we got into it. And as soon as we get done, and we're just like laying there, you know what I mean? The garage door opened, and all I see is her eyes looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and then she walks away because she didn't register what was going on, and I couldn't either. And then she like stops. You can hear her stop. She takes 2 steps back. She looks, and now I'm really looking at her. Now she's really looking at me, and I'm really looking at her, and she's like, ah! And I was like, oh my God, she's mad. So we both get up, and we're like, we're putting on our clothes, trying to put on our clothes. It was so embarrassing. And then she was like, when y'all done, get your asses in here now. So that's exactly what we did. When we got done, we got our asses out there right then and there. So then, she's looking at me real mad this time now. She's like, she's asking me, she's like, does your mother know you're here? And I'm like, just like you, my mother may or may not be a little bit neglectful. So no, this bitch do not know that I am here. So then she proceeds to be like, give me your phone. Give me your phone. Here, quickly, give me your phone. And I'm looking at her like, okay, now you're doing too much, girl. I'm not about to give you my phone for you to call my mom. She's like, give me your phone. I'm going to call your mom. I'm going to call your mom. I'm going to give me your phone. And I looked at her and I was like, no. I was like, no, I'm not giving you my phone. And so she's like, ah! And then she walks back to the garage door, opens that hole, gets back in her car. She drives. She goes, she's gone. And so then I look at my boyfriend, I'm like, where did your mom go? I'm like thinking she's about to come back with a gun or something. And my boyfriend's like, he was so scared. He's like, I have no clue where she went. I don't know. Maybe he was like, maybe you should leave. He's like, I'll call you an Uber. I was like, all right. Yeah, he got in real trouble then. After that, I met her one time after that, like a couple of years later. To my surprise, she remembered what happened. Did she mention it? No, and I will commend her for not ever mentioning that again. So yeah, don't get caught doing stuff like that. Okay, so I had a teacher threaten to hang me, but not only hang me, but hang me on the cross like Jesus. Her name was Miss Lopez. It was in elementary school, y'all. I think I was like in the 3rd grade, I believe, or maybe 2nd. And it was one of those, like, my school had that, like, ESLA program, I believe it was called. And it was where the kids who didn't speak English would go to a different classroom, learn English. And then the kids, we would flip-flop. So I had a flip-flop. And I had to go into Miss Lopez's classroom. I was the only kid that had to go to her classroom for whatever reason. And I remember she was just this lady. She looked like a caricature of a person, if I'm being honest. And she would always be picking on me. She's like, Money! And I'd be like, fuck, man. Yes, Miss Lopez. And she's like, get up on the board. And y'all, I was a dumb kid. I could not do anything right, okay? So she told me to go up to the board and spell something. I spelled it wrong. Obviously, I'm fucking stupid. And she was all like, are you dumb? And I'm looking at her and I'm like, bitch, isn't that why I'm at school? Yes, I am. And she talked about it for literally 20 whole minutes. And everyone in the class was like, look around like, dang, are we still talking about this girl being dumb? And I'm sitting up there crying. Miss Lopez was a mess. What she would really do though, she would threaten her students on a daily basis. Every single time I'd be in that classroom, she would not only threaten me, but like other students. She's like, if the laws weren't, different, I would beat you kids. Just like my own kids, I'd beat you. We would all look at her like, should we tell somebody? I think everyone was just too scared to say anything. So I remember I had enough. I wanted to snitch, so I did. Like I always do. I snitched. And I told my mom, and I was like, Mom, I cannot go back into her classroom. She talks about me all day long. She calls me stupid and dumb, this, that, and the other. And I was like, I don't like being in her classroom. My mom was like, oh, just deal with it. And I'm like, girl, I will protest. I will do a sit-in. I don't give a fuck. And that's exactly what I did. When it was time to do that, my teacher told me to go to the classroom. I was like, I'm not going till I call my mother. Y'all, after a while, it was my last day and I had to go to the classroom. And the principal called the teacher and told her to fucking calm down. And the teacher, when I got into the classroom, she's like, so, you kids think I'm gonna kill you? And all the kids are petrified, like just ghost white faced. And we're like, and I'm fucking shitting my pants. I'm farting, and fucking throwing up. I'm spitting. I am crying. I'm about to slide down on the fucking wall. I was so scared. I was like, she knows. Alrighty, since it's November, I'm going to tell you guys about the time my grandma actually tried to poison me and my mom on Thanksgiving. So I was like around the age of like maybe 7 to like 10 or 11 years old. I don't remember. And we went over to my grandma's house. Now we went over her house in like the middle of the night. So it was like nighttime when we got over there and we were tired. And my grandma was like, no, we have to stay up to make dinner. That's a tradition, And we all looking at grandma like, girl, you only make like 5 things that could all be put in the microwave. We don't need to be up. So we all decided to go to sleep. And since my grandma don't have no beds in her house, we all are sleeping on the floor. My grandma gets mad. She gets furious. She's in a tizzy. So instead of going to sleep like a normal person, my grandma instead is walking back and forth from the kitchen to her bedroom. And as she's doing so, she's stepping on us the entire time. And she does this multiple times because she wants to make dinner. So my mom gets fed up after like the 13th step on her glasses. She's like, all right, we finna get up and we finna be in the kitchen. So we all get up and we're all in the kitchen cooking the 5 things. And I'm gonna be honest, there wasn't even room for all of us to be in the kitchen to be awake at that hour. So, in my grandma's house, we have to eat everything. Like, we have to get a little bit of everything because she cooked it. So, out of all the little 5 things, she makes like turkey, she makes ham, she makes this stuff called apple salad that got raisins and mayonnaise in it. I can't explain why she does that. And after, she got done cooking, she makes like 5 different types of dressing, or AKA stuffing. And I don't know what possessed her to do that. And I don't like stuffing, so I'm like, Grandma, do I have to eat this? I'll just eat the turkey, ham, and the apple salad. I'll even eat the apple salad. And she's like, no, you gotta eat everything. And so I was like, fuck, man. So I put all the 5 different kinds of dressing on my plate and I eat it. And then the next day, y'all, my stomach was on fire. It felt like somebody went inside of my esophagus, slit my small intestine, and dipped out. My mom's, she was suffering too. She was throwing up. We was all crying and throwing up on the toilet, on the trash cans, in the bathtub. We was in the bathtub with it, and we was like, dang, like it had to have been the food, because it's like, there's no, I get sick, but like my mom gets sick. I was like, all right, you know what I mean. So we asked my grandma. We was like, Grandma, what all did you make last night? Da, 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 da. And she's like, oh, you know, this, that, and the other. She showed us the containers that she bought the stuff in. And then she gets to the dressing and she goes into the freezer and she pulls out these bags that, I'm not even shitting, said 1998 on them. I was born in 98. You mean to tell me? I was like, Grandma, what? Are you serious? She was like, yeah, you know, if you freeze it, it's still good. We ain't never been to my grandma's house since for Thanksgiving. She literally tried to fucking kill us. And then she didn't even.
I've been super sick the past few days, ever since I got back from Florida. I'm sorry, my dog wanted to come and snuggle with me during this. Okay, everybody, before we get into today's story time, I would like to give a big shout out to Keen for sponsoring today's video. Now, if you've watched my story times before, you will know that I've talked about Keen briefly in some of my other videos. So I'm going to be telling you guys about my most recent experience with Keen. So a few days ago, I was looking for some guidance on a topic that is very rough for me to discuss with anybody that I know. So I called one of the advisors on Keen just to kind of get some guidance. Because recently I have been doing a lot of unnecessary spending and I'm scared that it's getting out of hand. And let me tell you, as soon as I brought up the problem, she was able to bring up every reason why I'm having these issues. And some of them were reasons that I didn't even think about until she brought them up, and then I realized those were also valid. But she was able to provide me with some great advice and methods on how to save and how to mentally train myself. I don't know, it's probably not a topic that some of you have issues with. So enough about that. One of the things that I love about Keen is it was 9 o'clock whenever I decided to call her, and to be honest, I was not expecting an answer because of the fact that it was really late, and also people are in different time zones. But she did answer, and there are advisors on the app 24/7. Even if you can't get somebody to answer you at a certain time, you can schedule a call with somebody and they will call your phone. And say if you're a new Keen customer, you want to try it out, you can get your first 10 minutes for only $1.99, and then after that, pricing depends on which advisor you choose. They're super affordable, and you just have more access to advisors than you would, say, where you live locally. Because I know that my stepmom used to drive like an hour and a half to go see her psychic, which leads me into my next thing. Most advisors on Keen specialize in all different things. For example, relationship advice, career advice, guidance in life. And I know some of y'all be needing that relationship advice, so with the story times that y'all be sending me,
child. Anyway, so
last but not least, Keen will send all of its users weekly discounts that it's having. All you have to do is check your email. So don't forget to click the link down below to check out Keen and get your first 10 minutes for $1.99. Back to the video. Okay, so as always, before we get into today's story time, I'm going to give a quick rundown about how things work around here for the people who are new here. One, these story times are sent in by anonymous people, and for most of the video, I will be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I'm doing. I do tell these story times in a first person point of view. If you don't like that, then leave. It's currently the next day. Recorded the video last night. My camera wasn't even recording the whole time, and I should have known because I didn't have to like click the record button again. Okay, so story time about my arsonist ex. Now let me give you the definition of arsonist if you don't know what that means. A person who commits arson. And if you don't know what arson means, the criminal act of deliberately setting a property on fire. Alright, so a little background information. I was 17 years old whenever this all happened, and it was the beginning of my senior year. Summer was about to end whenever this all happened, and school was about to start back up. And I've been in a relationship with this guy named Devin for the past 2 years. And you know, everything was going very well with him until last year. And at that time, I would have been a junior in high school and he would have been a senior. He low-key became an angry person and was always mad at someone or something, and I really didn't know why. And every time that I asked him, he would brush it off and act as if it was non-existent. Like, he would just walk around a freaking angry person and then be like, what are you talking about? Like your attitude, sis. the pug. So at that point, I really started to get fed up with our relationship. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the kid and I know that he loved me, but with my mom being in an abusive relationship right before this, like she had just gotten out of the relationship right before Devin started acting this way. So after we tried to work things out in the summer, nothing was helping our relationship and we just decided to call it quits. I mean, I decided that. He was low-key butthurt about it, but yeah. So I pretty much told him, hey, I need to focus on myself. I'm going into my senior year and the past year has been really hard on us and I'm willing to talk to you, but only over the phone. At first he was super mad about it, but I mean, like, I don't blame him. I'd be sad if I didn't want to be with me too. No, but really, he would call me and he would say things like, oh, after all the time I spent and the stuff that I've done for you, this is how you repay me, and more things along that line. Like, sometimes I would just sit there and literally think, this man must be out of his mind, because not only was he a narcissist, but he was crazy. So eventually I just started to ignore him. And I want to say that lasted about a month. Well, it's the night of my senior homecoming and I went with a group of friends to the dance and we are all having a great time dancing and having a lot of fun. We are all having a very good time singing and dancing and all of that. Whenever all of a sudden I get a call from my mother, which was really weird. I know you're probably thinking, oh, why is that so weird to get a call from your mom? Like, my mom usually didn't call me whenever she knows that I have like something going on, you know, like she doesn't call me during school. She doesn't call me whenever I'm at parties. She's just not that type of person. Like, it has to be major emergency for her to call me. So I hurry up and answer the phone, and before I could even get a word out, Devin's on the phone. So now I'm even more worried. The first thing that Devin says is, we need to talk. Like, yeah, we do. Why the hell are you calling me off my mom's phone? And what did you do with my mother? Like, this is probably already 6 feet under. He's so crazy, I would not be surprised. Anyway, so I'm very confused about why Devin is calling me off my mom's phone after we have not talked for a month and a half. Shit's just weird. So he hangs up the phone right after that and I call back seeing if I could talk to my mom, and I called multiple times and got no response. So now I guess you could say I'm freaking the out. So I decided to ditch the group I was with and the after party that I was supposed to go to so I could go home and see if my mom was okay, because I did not have a good feeling about the whole situation. So I Uber home, and when I get there, I see my mom and Devin sitting on the front porch, which was even weirder because my mom hated Devin. Anyways, Devin was sitting there on his phone and my mom was just watching him like a hawk. So I walk up to the porch and I ask my mom if she's okay, and she replies with, I will be once Devin replaces the phone that he broke after he talked to you. See, but he also has some anger issues. We do not like that. So then Devin yells out some elaborate story about dropping it in the sink after he washed his hands. Like, okay, buddy. So, of course, I was not having this, so I grabbed this man by the shirt and started pulling him off of my porch. Like, he was being super disrespectful towards my mother. Once he's off the porch, he drops to his knees and begs me to listen to him. He goes, please, just like, give me 1 minute to explain. So I look him dead in the eyes and I'm like, you have 1 minute to get the hell out of here before I call the cops. So instead of leaving, he proceeds to tell me that he misses me so much and that women are the problem in this world, but not me. I'm different and I'm, quote, one of the good ones, and that if I gave him just one more chance, he wouldn't have to make my life a living hell, and that if I stay with him, I can be saved from a, quote, certain hell. So at this point, I start swinging at him, and after like 1 or 2 hits, I miss, and I end up falling. So he tried to pick me up off the ground, but he threw me back down once he probably realized that he had no escape plan, and that my mom was calling the police. So he hopped in his car and took off somewhere, and after the police showed up, we gave them his name and his address, And apparently when they went there, he was no longer at his house. Cool, we just have a psycho on the loose. So the police informed us that they were putting out a warrant for his arrest, and if we happen to hear anything or see Devin, to give them a call right away. They also said that they were going to drive by his house daily just to see if he shows up or something. Unfortunately, a couple days passed and nothing. But everything was quite quiet, to be honest, so I was really hoping that he just left town for good. After school on Thursday, about a week after the whole incident, I decided to hang out with Candy, one of my really good friends from school. We went to one of our favorite coffee shops and got coffee, and then we went and picked up food to make a really nice dinner. After dinner, I got a call from my mom asking if I could come home and help her bake some cookies for her friend's party on Friday night. So, of course, I went home because I would do anything for my mom. And we ended up making some bomb-ass cupcakes, and we had a really good time, which can't say that I've had one in a really long time. So after, we ended up watching Dr. Phil and just comparing our lives to the people's lives who were on the show. Just some very good bonding time with my mom. After heading to bed, I finally lay down and closed my eyes for 3 minutes, and then I get a call. It's a random number, so of course I do not answer it. And literally right after I decline that call, calls me back again. So I put my phone on airplane mode and then I just go to sleep. Well, an hour later, I hear the fire alarm going off. And I wake up to my room smelling like absolute smoke. And the air is filled. So I hurry up, get out of bed, open the door, yell to my mom, asking if she's okay, and if she's just cooking, even though it's 1 in the morning, we just got done cooking. Suddenly, I hear her yelling back, and she sounds absolutely terrified. And then she goes, I don't know what's happening, da-da-da. So I slide on some shoes and run downstairs, only to find my mom trapped in between one of our small hallways, between the living room and the front door, with fire on both sides. So I'm screaming as I realize how f***ing big this fire actually is, and it was spreading very, very, very fast. I tried to get the fire extinguisher from the kitchen, and I did, but by the time I got back there, she already had to run through the fire, or she would have died. So I ended up running out the back door that was in our kitchen, and as soon as I got outside, the firemen and the police were showing up. They were able to save parts of the house, but basically 40% was gone. As for my mom, she was fine and everything, but she got 3rd-degree burns on 30% of her body. The police, along with my mother and I, at first thought it was an accident. We thought she forgot to turn off the oven, but we were actually all wrong. So the police ended up finding my phone and they turned it on and had me log in because I had told them about 2 calls I received before I went to sleep that night. Once we logged in and I turned off airplane mode, we found 10 missed calls and like 100 text messages from that unknown number. Turns out, of course, it was
this one time when I was in kindergarten. There was this kid in my class and his name was Brandon. Brandon, if you are watching this, hit me up because I want to know why the fuck he did this. He was a menace. He was just one of those really troubled kids that, you know, constantly was in trouble. And it wasn't even because he was like a bad kid. It was just he had anger issues and was always so misunderstood. Like, I remember this one time we were in the library and he was like, I want to get this Harry Potter book. And the librarian was legit like, no, you can't get it. And he was like, he had it in his hands. He's like, but I want it. Bitch, why? And it was like, I think they told him it's because he just kept misbehaving. And I was like, wouldn't the book fucking help him? Like, wouldn't they, why is it so tangled? Help! I'm like, wouldn't a book help him? And they were like, no, you can't have the book. So instead of like being sad, this nigga just pushed down the bookshelves. You know what I mean? Like one by one, like dominoes in a movie. Pushed down the bookshelves and, you know, got in trouble obviously for it. So, this particular time, Brandon was in timeout, right? We had a bench and Brandon was CEO, co-owner of it, right? He'd always be in that bench. So, I remember one time I got in trouble and I don't even remember what I did. I think I had to pull my card to a red card, right? And that was the first time I ever really got in trouble. So, the teacher was like, Monet, you gotta go sit on the bench, girl. You out. You clocked out. We clocking you out. And I was like all mad and upset because like it's like what the fuck. So as I'm sitting next to Brandon's like, what did you do? And I'm like, I didn't say that, but I was like just quiet. And as the teacher's teaching, all the kids are on the mats and me and Brandon are like off to the wall just sitting by ourselves. And Brandon, he whispers to me, he's like, Monet. And I'm like, what? And he's like, just like Monet. And I'm not looking at him and I'm like, what? So I turn to look at him and he's like gesturing his eyes down. And I'm like what? And he's like, look down. I look down. Why? Why was his little itty bitty wee his little hot dog out, right? And I was like, Grr! And I raised my hand so fast and I was like, teacher, Brandon showed me his hot dog. And the teacher was like, Grr! And the class was like, and Brandon was like, I did not! His face turned red. He had glasses on, so his glasses were like fogging up because he was so hot. And I don't remember what happened after that, but I think he got expelled. That kid was like a menace. So yeah, don't be showing your little hot dogs to girls. Don't be doing that. All right, we're finished with this one. Let's see how it looks when I take it off.